Days with Jesus. Doing it kind of late tonight, but still want to make sure to work it in tonight before uh, the day's over. So we're covering Matthew 8. That's the idea of these 100 days with Jesus, is to go through the story of Jesus as found in the Gospels, a chapter of the Gospels at a time. So Matthew 8 covered all of Mark 2 through 3 and all of Matthew 1 through 7 at this point. In Matthew 8 is going to repeat some of the things that we already covered in Mark, like Mark 2 through 3 in particular. So the first one here is one of them, one of the stories that was already covered in Mark. It's a man who was a leper. He had leprosy. He had come to Jesus for healing. And he said, Lord, if you're willing, you can make me clean. Jesus reached out his hand. He touched him, which is absolute no-no. The custom and the culture and was not to touch anyone with leprosy because of the possibility of getting it yourself. But Jesus, he reached out and touched him, said, I am willing to heal you, be made clean. And immediately the disease was healed, which is, by the way, a very wondrous thing to see, for anybody to see in front of their eyes, because what leprosy can do and cause, the kind of condition it can cause a person's skin and body to be in, for that to transform immediately, that's an amazing sight to behold. I believe it happened, just like I have this nose on my face. It's pretty amazing. And then he told the man to go back and share this with the priest as a testimony to his cleanness. Other gospel account in Mark tells us that he went and shared with people all over, and when Jesus told him not to. But hey, don't blame him. But there's a reason why Jesus said not to do that. But going into the next story, centurion's faith. Centurion had a servant who was deathly sick. He came to Jesus and said, Jesus, I need you to heal my servant. And he told Jesus, look, I have a faith of such to where all you have to do is say the word and he'll be healed. Just like I say to my servants, go and heal. And the element of faith here, just by implication, is that Jesus says the word, and maybe he sends his angel servants to heal him. Either way, there's an implication of faith here in a really large way. Jesus really took note of it and really made a big deal about it. When he said this, he said, there's not faith like this in all of Israel. Jesus told the centurion, as you have believed, let it be done for you. And the servant was cured that very moment. And so Jesus then goes back into Capernaum. And this is actually another one of those stories that was covered in Mark. He goes to Peter's house where his mother-in-law was sick with a fever. And Jesus, he touches her hand and he heals her instantly. And she's able to be so well from her sickness that she gets up and starts serving everybody. She was so well that fast. And then people around town, they started hearing that Jesus healed her the way that he did so dramatically. And people are coming from all over town wanting to see Jesus to be healed. And people had demons to be cast out and everything. And so Jesus drove out spirits with a word, and he healed all who were sick. It wasn't a sickness that he could not heal. So that it was spoken throughout the prophet, just as it was spoken through the prophet Isaiah, he himself took our weaknesses and carried our diseases. It comes from Isaiah 53. I love that passage. And then there's this part in Matthew 8 where it talks about this people coming to Jesus saying, hey, I want to follow you. There's a religious leader in particular that said, hey, I want to follow you, Jesus. And Jesus said, well, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man, talking about himself, has no place to lay his head. And then another one said, Lord, another of his disciples said, first, let me go to my Father. And Jesus said, and to be able to bury my Father. And Jesus said, let those who are spiritually dead bury the dead. Um, and then I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories in the whole Bible and the whole Gospels for sure. And it's these water miracles that Jesus did, whether it be him walking in the water, which we haven't gotten to that in the Gospel accounts in this series here. But this one here, the disciples, they were all out in the boat with Jesus, and the winds were going about and the waves were going about, tossing the boat here and there, and the winds were just fierce. And Jesus is just like sleeping. He's sleeping in the boat. The disciples come to him and said, Lord, save us. Because they were freaking out. I mean, you would probably freak out. I would probably freak out. They said, Lord, save us. We're going to die. Little did they know. But he said to them, why are you so fearful and have such little faith? And then he got up, kept his composure, kept his calmness. He got up and he spoke to the winds and he spoke to the waves. He said, and he got up and he rebuked the winds and the waves, and there was a great calm. He spoke to the winds, he spoke to the waves, he rebuked them, and there was a great calm. In other gospel accounts, he says, peace, and he says, still. Peace, be still, it says in some translations. And the men were amazed. I would be amazed. As a matter of fact, that's why it's one of my favorite stories, period, ever. I could just imagine myself being there with this as one of the disciples and just witnessing Jesus calm these winds, calm these waves before their very own eyes. They were amazed and asked, what kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him. Only Jesus. Do you know of anybody else that the winds and waves obey them like they did here for Jesus? This is multiple people witnessing this at one time. It wasn't just one person, or it was multiple people. And then on the other side of the sea, when they got to the other side of the sea, there was these demon-possessed men. I love some of the accounts, and some of the accounts in other Gospels, they don't tell us about both. It doesn't mean there's a contradiction, by no means. We'll catch this story later on in the next couple of chapters in Mark as we go back to Mark. But there was two men described as being here. And I believe in the other accounts, there was just one of the men we left out. It wasn't a contradiction, just they didn't add the detail of the actual being two men. And they started saying to Jesus, so what have you come to do with us, Son of God? Have you come to torment us before our time? He says, if you're going to drive us out, and this is the demons in them speaking to Jesus, if you're going to drive us out into those pigs over there. And he just says, well, as you wish. And he drove the demons out, and he allowed the demons to go into the pigs. And the pigs then all rushed over the hillside into the sea, and they drowned. There was townspeople. There was the people who were the watchers of the pigs. They were the pig farmers. They watched all this happen. And instead of being amazed at the fact that Jesus delivered these men from these demons, they were more concerned about the loss of their pigs. And I get it. That was their livelihood. That's how they made money. They went into town and told all the other people about this, and they all came out to Jesus. And when they saw him, they begged him to leave their region. And that was that. And then the other accounts, they give a little bit more details to the story. But hey, Jesus, the real deal. Only Jesus could heal a leper like Jesus did. Only Jesus could say, go, and to whatever angel he sent to heal this man's servant, the centurion. Only Jesus could heal a woman of a fever like this, and then heal all the sick that came to him, and drive out demons the way he did. Only Jesus could be worth following. Only Jesus could speak to the winds and to the waves and say, peace, and be still. And all of a sudden there's a calm, a great calm that comes over the seas. Only Jesus could drive out these demons the way that he did. What is it in your life that only Jesus could do that you need him to do in your life? And I'm speaking to believers, those who already have faith in Jesus. Maybe you need to speak peace. I did earlier today. Maybe you need to speak him to speak still. I did earlier today. Matter of fact, it seems like I do just about daily. But it's amazing the peace and the still that he can speak. And it be peace. And it be still. Just as he spoke the worlds into existence. And it was him who did it. He can speak peace into existence in the midst of the greatest chaos you may have ever been through, the greatest pressure that has maybe ever been on you. Ask him to speak peace and still for you. Right where you are today, he can speak peace and he can speak still. Just call on him. Jesus can heal you. He can help you. Whatever you need, he can do it for you. Blessings to you. Be blessed.